Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How are you today? Yes, I'm just returning from vacation. I was telling our guests, you got to catch up after you relaxed. We are going to be visited from someone in Australia, Philipa Gleeson Payne. She's going to talk to us a little bit about her pain, but also about her overwhelming joy and how she is helping mothers redefine what it is mothering and being comfortable with that. It is by design. There is no template. There is no rules or regulations, and there should be no expectations. A lot of mothers go through a lot of things. And so what we want to do is we want to drill down and we want to give them the support that they need. And she is dedicating her life to do that. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Philipa?
I'm very well. Thank you, April. I'm really, really pleased to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you. And this is a very unique conversation that we're going to have. Again, like I said, mothering is by design. There's no template, and could be a lot of pain. There's also a lot of joy, but with joy and pain is work. How did you find yourself in this zone of genius and doing this work?
Wow. Okay. So it has been exactly what you said, design, a journey, tough times, great times, all of those and everything in between. Look, like most people, I started motherhood about 25 years ago. That's not like most people, but about 25 years ago, I became a mother. And I set out with such energy, such love and enthusiasm. It was completely infectious, really. And I was determined to be a good mum. And I think that's the case. I think every mother sets out with the goal to be a good mum, right? I read every book. Look, April, I don't know about you, or look, at what point you entered the motherhood, but when I was starting back then, that was the point where all the motherhood and parenting books were coming out, right? What to expect when you're expecting, The Contented Little Baby, all these books were coming out, and I read them all, right? I was determined to learn everything I needed to do to be a good mum. And you've already hit the nail on the head. It's not about what you do, right? It's what happens, and it's the journey. But I was convinced I could learn how to be the best mum out there by reading books and reading everything I possibly could get my hands on. And it was working really well. It's easy to feel like a good mum when things are going well, right? I ended up with 4 kids. They were all fantastic. I loved them. We traveled. I came to your neck of the woods there for a while. So we traveled and had kids across 3 continents. So our first in Australia, then 2 in Singapore. Then we ended up in California, where our 4th one was born, and we were homeschooling. I was coaching, health coach, and life was pretty damn good, really. Until it's not, right?
Right.
So, yeah, until it's not. So there was a point, 2017, we were in a playground. We were on a holiday back in Australia. We were living in Singapore. We were on a holiday, and my 12-year-old son had a fall in a playground. And it changed our life. Like, it completely changed what our life looked like. So in the slip of one hand, that life that we knew just disappeared. And we were thrown, so for a start that day, we didn't actually know if he would survive. He wasn't expected to. It was a really, really miraculous day. They got him to the hospital just in time. They lost him briefly in the ambulance, but ultimately he survived that day. So when he fell, he ended up with a subdural hematoma. So basically the swelling of his brain inside his skull, and it had nowhere to go. So that's pretty much as bad as it gets, right? The brain needs, it was being squished and squeezed out everywhere. So I don't just fast forward a little bit. They saved him that day, and then he's in a coma, and then they decide they have to, we will have to wait and see. Is he going to wake up? If he wakes up, there was every question. Will he speak? Will he walk? Will he talk? The trajectory was as wide as you could imagine. And there were a couple of key things. So, I mean, when he was in the coma, the first time we went in, it was quite astonishing, because one minute you're sending him into a surgery room, and then you go in not really ready for what you're about to see, right? You've got this 1 minute he's there, you walk into this room and he's on a life support, and he had this bandage on. It was like a turban wound around his head, and then a sign written on the side of this turban that said it all, right? No pressure, no skull.
Wow.
I don't know how a mother's supposed to read that in a book, right?
Right.
Anyway, you did survive. Let's just get that elephant out of the room right now for anyone listening, because I'm not going to go into his rehab process. It's a huge story, but he did survive, and we've got him here now. Not here, but he's alive in this world, and he's doing well. Thank you. So for anyone who's wondering, you can put your hearts at rest there. It's been a long journey. So while he was in that coma, and we had no idea what it was going to look like, I had more than one moment where I just looked at him and thought, it'll be easier if he just dies. Right? So what's that? Is that a good mum? What, a bad mum, or is that a real mum? We have all these.
That's a real human being, and that's real emotion.
Exactly. And we have all these things when people go through things, and people judge all the time. Little things, when you see a parent doing something in the street or speaking rudely to their kid, and they're like, oh my God, what a bad mum. People make all these judgments all the time. Good mum, bad mum, good mum, bad mum. It's really, we're all of these things at some point, right? So real mum is where we want to get to. But I had that thought more than once, and but it was our 6-year-old at the time that said something really. While he was in a coma, she came to me one day and she said, when he wakes up, and I love that she said when, because we didn't know if he would, but when he wakes up, this hope of a 6-year-old, will he play baseball again? And I said, I don't know. I don't know if he'll like baseball anymore, or if he'll know baseball. And she burst into tears. And she just said, I just want him to be the same.
Right.
And I'm like, right. I said, I don't think he's going to be the same. But okay, fast forward again. He's out of his coma, out of amnesia a couple of weeks later, and we're sort of getting ready to leave the hospital at some point. And that same little sister came to me. It was very apparent to her by now that he wasn't going to be this, things were different, right? But everyone else is focused on rehab, focused on getting him back to where he was before, helping him rehabilitate. And this little 6-year-old said to me, you know what, Mum? One day, this is going to be the only brother I remember, and I'm going to forget the other one altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So that's pretty key, because I can remember then right there looking at her with tears in my eyes and thinking, I wish I could forget, right? But I'm not going to. And that is so key, April, because let's fast forward 18 months from there. I remember watching him, during that time, we'd all been helping him rehabilitate, and say, if he was frustrated, saying things along the lines like, don't worry, you'll learn it again, you'll get back, you can get it back, look at how well you've done, you'll do that again one day. And all our messages were telling him is, you've got to get back to who you were.
Right.
Now, I was sitting there watching him, and because he didn't connect with us at this point, it took years for him to really connect again. But I was watching him with his little sister, and I thought, what is it with her? Because he was actually really interacting with her in a different way to any of us, the older sibling, the other two older siblings, and anyone else. And I'm watching this joy as they played. I'm like, it's what she said. She's just seeing him for who he is now.
Right.
She doesn't expect anything of him. She doesn't expect who he was. She has no expectations of what he's going to be. She's just with him right now in that moment, and he's connecting with her. And I sat there and thought, oh my God, this is what I've got to do. I've got to let go of the ghost of him that I'm holding, because it's holding him, the real him now, hostage.
Right.
He can't even be now. So that was a real key moment for me. And it was real key, but that didn't mean I had the skills to do it.
Right.
I knew what I wanted to do, right? And it was really quite interesting, because once I had that key and once I started to try and implement it and saw, oh, this sort of has some, credit. It is worthy. I knew it was the key. I then realized it's not just for brain injury. My other kids deserve that same acceptance for who they are right now.
Absolutely.
And all around me, I could see parents that were struggling with letting go. Oh my gosh, they want to give up dance, but they've been doing it for so long. It would be shame to give it up. It would be shame to waste all their talent. All these people so connected with what had been in that person's past, their child's past, that they couldn't just allow right now to happen and evolve as something different. I'm like, that's the key to connecting with your kids. But it's not easy to do, right? You've really got to let go of you've got to let go of who they were yesterday. You've got to forget some imagination as to what you think tomorrow is going to bring, because I tell you what, we learned that you can't plan for what tomorrow is going to bring. And you've just got to get to know them right now. So that's what I wanted to do. But it was harder than I thought, because, hey, like every mother, life, right? Life.
Right. But it's not just that you had one. It's not just that you had one. You had four. You had
I have four.
You had yourself and you had a spouse. And again, defining motherhood, I was listening to an article and I can't think of where I saw it or who it actually was, but they were saying that you may have four children, all grown up in the same house, same mother, same father, but have four different experiences, four different individuals, the way that they were birthed, the way that they respond, the way they started walking, talking, eating, adolescence, sexuality, all of these things evolve daily. And being a good mother, Brains, pat yourself on the back for just giving birth, okay? Because that is a journey within itself.
Absolutely.
Different situations, and again, you were very hopeful. You read books, you were prepared, but there's also those that are abused in abusive relationships, that have generational trauma of their own, that some mothers don't want to be mothers. This is a horror story and I hate to bring it up, but there was a story in the newspaper here of a mother that put her baby in the oven. So
you're right. What I'm talking to is mothers that, I'm definitely speaking to the mothers that want to be good mothers. And you are right. You
struggle with it. I don't think that she wanted to do that, because there's mental health challenges of her own. But working with someone like you that has been there, that has overcome such trauma, is amazing and is a godsend, because there's someone to hold your hand. And having those thoughts of, oh, well, you know what? Maybe it is easier. Easier for who? Easier for him, or easier for you, the rest of the family, that if he went on to glory. This is his glory. As we enter into this world, we all have a soul contract, and they're all very different. And there is a reason for everything that happens. And that 6-year-old was the turnkey. And I'm so glad that she was there to be there for him and for you, to show you that, all is not lost. So how did you find yourself being able to not only deal with your own trauma, but be able to pay it forward and work with other mothers that are going through trauma and just life's challenges?
Yeah, so for a while, I was unable to. That's the reality. For a few years, I was unable to. So, and that was it was a lot. You touched on the fact that there were four of them, right? And when you're going through a big trauma like this accident that was thrown at us, life doesn't stop. The rest of the stuff doesn't stop. Hey, all the perimenopause stuff that you're going through at the same time doesn't stop. The other kids having their gender questioning, their sexuality questioning, eating disorder, all the other stuff going on doesn't stop. And in fact, once you've gone through a trauma like that, quite often those things get worse because you're not actually have the space or the time to actually give grace to it in the way that you would have done, right? So to be quite honest, it got a little bit out of control for me there for a while. And I'll tell you what the next key moment to get me back to where I was not only as good as I was before, but I think better. And when I say better, I mean loving life more and loving being a parent more and just having the availability for other people.
Right.
First, I actually really did spiral into a pretty dark place. And it happened quite quickly, but it happened because our other children were growing up and having all the problems that I see every mother having, right? They're having problems with friends. They're questioning their sexuality. They're maybe, I mean, ours weren't vaping, but we have people talking about vaping. They have eating disorders. They have like all these things come up. And parents are in this hyper-vigilant 24/7 panic, 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 panic. What's next? What's going to happen next, right? And that was me. It was like, oh my gosh, every time the phone rang or every time a kid sent me a text message or every time this happened, I was 24/7 basically all worked up. So that takes its toll. And I hit a point where I wasn't coping. And I admitted to a friend, this was the next key. And it's a really interesting message she gave me. I hit a point where I actually, April, with all that joy that you just heard, and when you're saying people that don't even want to be mothers, I hit a point I wished I wasn't a mother. There was a point there, and I admitted it to a close friend. I said, I just wish I was not a mother. To be quite honest, I think they'd be better off if I wasn't here. I can't cope. I'm miserable. That's not a good mother, right? And she said something to me, and it was really it was the next turning point for me. She said to me, if you're willing to even consider leaving them permanently, even consider it, and it's not like I was making plans, but if you're willing to consider that, why wouldn't you consider leaving them for a week or a month, for as long as you need to find who you are?
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, she's right? It doesn't have to be an all or anything. Now, I didn't leave them, but that was during the COVID days, the early COVID days. If I wanted to, I couldn't have. But anyway, I didn't leave them. But what I did do is I thought, wow, maybe what I can do is give myself as much importance as I give them and prioritize me finding me. So that energy that I've always put into reading, researching for my kids, for their schooling, when we homeschooled, for everything I did, whenever they had a problem, I would be all in. I'd be on it, hundreds of hours of research trying to find it. I thought, that's what I'm going to do for me.
Wow.
So I got therapists, I got coaches, I did breath work in facilitators. I've done sound healing. I explored everything, April. And I thought, I want to be back to that mother 25 years ago that just exuberated excitement and energy and love of being a mother. I want that back. And so I did. And you know how the very, 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 very key thing was learning to regulate my nervous system. Number one, that was it. Because your nervous system is what controls your state of being.
Right.
And motherhood isn't doing, it's being. And if you can't control your state of being, then you can't control the mother you turn up as. It's as simple as that. So once I did that, and it was really quite cool, it took me took a while, but it's one of those things that once you start investing and getting benefits and feeling good, and honestly, once you master your nervous system, most things slot into place because you can control how you show up at any moment.
Well, it's a
And
response. It's, that's what I did when I turned 60. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you know what, April, it's how you respond to situations. But again,
yeah,
Philippa, that is a level of maturity. Now, I've heard everything about you being a mother, you giving into yourself, but were you married at the time?
oh yeah, we've been married the whole time. We're still, and somehow we're still together. I don't
Well,
know how.
but this is the thing, that other person buying into what you're doing, your evolution, your emotional change, because women are emotional roller coasters.
Yeah,
That's just how we're made. And
yeah.
to not deny them the love that and support that they need, because mothers give so much to their children, there's a sacrifice. How did your partner respond? How did your husband respond?
So, oh, goodness. Yeah, that is a big story, isn't it? So he's always responded really well. He's been very, very, very patient with me. But what we went through happened to both of us, but it happened to us both in very different ways.
Right.
And he was traveling a lot at the time of it happening.
Mm.
So what we experienced in that process was very different experiences as well. And yeah, there was quite a time there where, we were nearly like ships in the night, but also he was very patient with the fact that I was mature and insightful enough to be able to express to him, I can't be anything to anyone until I sort this out. And you're going to have to be
Right.
patient, but I will come back. And I will come back. And it's interesting because when I did come back, it sounds like it was like a journey into myself, and then I came home. But
Absolutely.
when I did, there was a night we went out for Thai one day, and we're sitting in this Thai restaurant, and he looked at me and he goes, it's like when I first met you. You're like so young again.
Oh,
And it was so nice. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And even since then, there was someone that I hadn't seen for a few years recently. They actually said to me, you've changed. There's something different about you. And I thought, when did they last see me or meet me? And I knew the period of time. And I said, oh, it's pretty simply, I'm basically younger and healthier and happier. And it just came out. I said, that's how I've changed. I'm younger and healthier and happier. And they go, yeah, that's sort of it. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
yeah. So what I hear you saying is that as you were seeking, not only at a point for your son to renew who he was, and then you evolved and said, I need to find out and rediscover who I am. There was a third person there that was trying to not only deal with their self and their emotions, but deal with you and
Yeah.
your evolutions and change, as well as looking at their child. Men don't talk about things the way that women do, they suppress things. They go through a different understanding. So, thank you so much for sharing. And also, thank him for staying in. I had a very I had a very
Absolutely.
close
Big haul.
friend. Her husband accidentally ran over their child when he was backing out the car, and never could get over that. Never could get
Yeah.
an understanding of that. And clearly it was an accident. But again,
Yeah.
it can cause such a rift. And there's a lot of emotional turmoil and people waiting for you, because that's what it is. They're waiting for you. And there's certain
Yeah.
expectations, when is she going to be that way again? And when he looked at you across the table at that restaurant and saw the sparkle in your eye, the girl that he fell in love with, that did something um, to elevate his frequency and his soul, just like it did yours. So when you're in a relationship with a partner, because I've been married 41 years, and I
Well done.
yes, and I call him Mr. Magnificent. And we just came from vacation and we had conversations that we had never had before. In 41 years, there
Mm,
was things that I learned about him that I never knew. So
yeah.
relationships are ever evolving, just like motherhood. Motherhood
Yeah.
is a moving target. Again, and you have four different personalities. We talked a little bit about, and I don't know if you wanted to share this, but about gender identity. Uh,
Yep.
there is gender fluidity right now is something that parents are grappling with. That's another thing. When a child is born, we see what, their genitalia says that they are, but we also make it a point to direct them in that way. The girl, you give her pink, you give her dolls, give her pigtails, you give her, tap dancing lessons, piano lessons, prim and proper. The boy gets a truck, he wears blue, he doesn't cry, he does this, he does that. I mean, this is how we set it up. But
Yeah.
biologically, that may not be who it is. Or
Yeah.
as they develop and get older, their sexuality may not be what we perceive it to be or want it to be. A lot of times, parents
Yeah.
are reliving their lives vicariously through their children, and they struggle with that. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, actually, April, I do. I have personal experience there. So our oldest is a transgender son, and that wasn't just a out of the blue thing. It was a journey. And I've also supported other parents who have children of all fluidities, as or you're saying they're not all in the same situation. There's so many. It's all so personal and so different. But I've supported a number of mothers through that transition of who is my kid, right? And having to do what I did essentially with our son, let go of who they were, let go of this imagined future, and just see this person as to what are they battling with right now. And that's easier said than done. But they also have to realize it is happening to them. I mean, it's easy to turn around and go, it's not about you, it's about the kid, which is true. But you just said, I mean, they do have these expectations. It's nearly not possible not to have had anything, because you've had this child all their life. Even if you're not pushing it on them, you're okay. We were like that. I still had to grieve the loss of this little girl I had, right? And I still had to come to terms with that uncomfortable shift of, this doesn't feel normal to me. Now, by normal, I don't mean they're not normal, but showing up to someone that's suddenly different, it's uncomfortable because it's new, it's different. And whenever there's something new or different in life, it doesn't feel comfortable until we do it over and over and over again. And so I think the accident and really set us up well to just reflect on that and think it's exactly the same thing. And that's what I help people through. It is in that process, like losing their kids to everything. I help mothers losing their kids to gender change. I help them losing it to drugs and alcohol. I help, like, losing their kids. I help them lose. Yeah, well, I do. I'm helping them lose their kids on a daily basis, right? Help you lose your kid to who they were. And it really is about getting comfortable for knowing that you connect so much better when you just see them for who they are right now. And once you feel that, there's no going back. You can't connect with anyone yesterday. I can't connect with you right now as a 5-year-old because you're not 5 anymore.
Right.
I can't even connect with you as your 30-year-old. You're not 30. I didn't know you at 30.
Right.
And even if someone told me who you were at 30, I can't connect with you based on that.
So how do you make the connection?
It's tough. It takes time. I mean, it's not something you can just tell someone to do and they do it, which is why it's generally a coaching process, right? I mean, whether someone needs, depending on where someone's coming from and depending on what people have been through and successfully come out the other side, some people don't need lots of coaching. They just need that realization. Like, if they've already evolved, but if they've never gone through that process of understanding themselves, their beliefs, and why those beliefs are there in the first place, why are we told that? I mean, I have mothers coming to me who believe a good mum is someone who puts, one of the things on their good mum list is cooking a meal for their kids every night, like a good home cooked meal. I'm like, So if you don't do that, you're a bad mum. What about if you do that 80% of the time? Are you beating yourself up over being a bad mum 20% of the time?
Right.
So where do those beliefs come from?
Those are what
And
have been
if people have,
indoctrinated into us, Philippa, as societal norms. There have been gender roles that are
yeah,
expectations. And for us to ascend to the next level of civilization and humanity, we have to understand that things are changing. We have to
yeah,
understand
rapidly.
at, at warp speed with artificial
Yeah,
uh, artificial intelligence. Who are we going to be?
yeah,
You know, Children are conceived
yeah,
outside of the womb now in test tubes. They are then implanted in a
yeah.
total stranger to be carried. They are then birthed and
Mm,
been with another person to be nursed. Things have changed
yeah.
and they are going to change even more so. So it's really big of you, um, and I give you your flowers, to be able to adapt because it's hard. People don't even want to talk about their children's sexuality being gay. And you know what I asked a person? I said, okay, so when someone says that they're gay, what is the first thing you think about? And you know what they thought? What they said? It's how they get down. It's how they have an orgasm. Who's that's what the first thing that
What?
comes to their mind. Why would you care about that? I mean, I look at you, woman to woman, and we both might have some, deep rooted sexual inhibitions, but I don't care how you get down. Why do you have to look at that?
Yeah.
Is it their mannerisms? Is it their lifestyle? Is there an
Yes.
envy there? Is there a curiosity there? Why is that the first thing? And I'm thinking that's kind of perverted. That's a lot of times what people think about
Um,
their sexual intimacy. Okay, so you think about your daughter that is now your son and the struggle that he has to go through every day, every single day, of still questioning, am I this person in a different meat suit? How are people going to respond to me? Are people whispering? Are they looking at me a certain way? How do I feel? This is an ongoing, they may be in their 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, the rest of their life. How am I going to find a partner that is going to be open to this, monogamous with me, love me, support me, encourage me? I may have my parents, but I do have a life. All of these things are going to
yeah.
continuously run through, his mind. And that is a challenge. That is a challenge. And then you look at the world today, and, we have people over here in the United States that want to deny medical treatment, that don't want to give them what they need. This is
Mm,
I've worked with people at top notch hospitals here in San Diego. It is biologically and scientifically proven that you can be born with two X's and a Y, or two Y's and an X. It's very possible. You have hermaphrodites that are born with two body parts. And then who makes the decision? The mother, the father, on how this person should live their life. This is huge. This is huge. And for you to be able to pour
yeah.
into that, again, like I say, is incredible. So when someone works with you in a coaching capacity, Philippa, tell me, what do they have to look forward to?
Well, look forward to coming out the other side with this sense of possibility and get back to the essence of the mother that they gave birth to be. And that's not something I can determine. It's sometimes something that they don't even know up front as to where they're heading. But I think the biggest thing that people will get is an ability to be in the moment and respond in a way that is real, positive, and and know that you don't have to continually define and be anyone in particular, to be quite honest. And one of the things that I'm a bit philosophical, April, and I do bring out a few little bizarre things. Like, for instance, depending on who I'm working with, they'll all need a different snippet of my wisdom, if you would like to call it, or any other inner truths. But one of the things that I like to pose out there, depending on the circumstance, is this concept and the idea that you're not, it's two things. One is being a mother isn't about you. It's nothing to do with you. Now, that's an interesting one to get your head around. But if you can get your head around that, it takes a lot of pressure off you for a start. So being a mother, it's like being a doctor isn't about you. If you don't have a patient, you're not going to fix anyone, right? Being a mother isn't about me. Being a mother is about my child. So I can't define it because my child is going to define what they need from me.
Right.
And what I give to them makes me a mother. I don't get to decide what that child needs. And the other is that this is abstract. You're not a mother 24/7. Now that idea is very abstract, but it's freeing, right? Because right now while I'm talking to you, sure, I am a mother. I've got 4 kids, right? But while I'm talking to you right now, am I doing anything mothering? I'm not with any of my children.
Not by definition.
No. So if you can release yourself of that having to be switched on 24/7 and on alert 24/7, if nothing terrible's happening right now and nothing's happening right now, I can release myself of all the responsibility of being a mother right now.
Absolutely.
Right now, that's a huge, because we feel such an overpowering sense of responsibility. If we can just release that when we're not actually being a mother,
right?
It's right. The actual switched on moments is when we're being a mother. Then be it. It's like a surgeon on call. Just because they're on call doesn't mean that they're a surgeon 24/7. They're not in the operating theatre 24/7. So there's a couple of little things. So I guess I have a whole kit bag of those sorts of things, depending on when I'm working with people, what they need, right? That comes a little intuitively. I've been coaching for a lot of years, not in mothers specifically all the time, but it's evolved, right? Since the accident, since I've done this. Yeah. So some of that comes with intuition. Like you're going to get, it's different to just going to Google and going, give me some tips on coping with stress as a mother.
Right.
And you can go do that. People will say, what's some tips? It's like, well, you can go type into Google tips to help stressed mothers, and you're going to get billions of responses and probably similar ones to what I'm going to give, but in a different way, or not to everyone. And also, once you're one-on-one with someone, or once you're working with someone, not everyone's ready to hear these tips.
Right.
And if I just gave people tips and said, you know what you need to do? You need to go and you need to meditate every day, and you need to take time out. Like, you need to be drinking more water, like all these sorts of things. As a coach, you can't just tell people to do these things, because guess what? They still don't do them. They still are missing something, or they would be doing them if it was that easy. So then they don't do them. Guess what happens then, April? They feel worse about themselves. They feel like more of a failure.
Right. Because I have all these things, but I don't know how to implement them. And so that is the brilliant part, is working with a coach, is someone that is there not to necessarily hold your hand, but we want them to be empathetic. Can't talk. We want them to be empathetic, but they also need to be a person that is going to hold us accountable.
Yeah.
A person that is going to challenge us, a person that's going to question us, in addition to support us. It's football season here, and I'm looking at these coaches on the sideline, and I see all of these gentlemen on the bench. And when it's your turn to get in there and play, you need to know your position. You need to have the confidence. You need to have the agility. You need to have the strength. You need to have the discipline and the drive to go in there and do what? Win. The coach can only do so much from the sideline. It's up to you. And that's in every aspect of your life. Mothering, relationships, volunteering, working at a job. All of these things require a lot. And women, we stretch ourselves too thin. As Philipa said, sometimes just park your brakes and live in the moment. Delegate. You got 4 kids and a husband. Okay, there would be somebody washing, There would be somebody cutting the grass. There would be somebody doing the grocery shopping. There'd be somebody cooking. And you know what I'd be doing? Sitting out there with a nice libation in the sun. We don't know how to separate ourselves because, again, we have been, quote unquote, given this definition and these expectations of what we should and shouldn't do and be and not be. And you know what? Another thing, that's not a good example to your children
Yeah, I
because
agree.
they're going to look over in your casket one day and, oh, my mom, she was so dedicated, she worked, she did everything for us. I want my kids to say, my mother, you should see her sometimes, she parties like a rock star. She'll change her hair color, she'll put on different eyeglasses, she'll go out, she'll do a podcast because my mother had a life. And that
Yeah.
is teaching them that they need to have a life as well. But in conclusion, I want to ask you some fun questions because I want people to know
Sure.
you outside of the dedicated work that you do. If you were a flower in the garden, Philippa,
Ooh.
what flower would you be?
I was a flower in the garden, April. Oh, I love colorful flowers. I love flowers, lots of colors, rainbows. I think I'd be a tulip.
I'd be a tulip too. Why would you be a
Yeah,
tulip?
I'd be a tulip because they feel very simple. There's not like I'm complex, but I'm also not, right? I'm complex, but I don't have to take life. I
Right.
don't I like simple. I like simple.
Mhm.
And I think they're elegant, but they're not overdone. Does
Right.
that make sense?
And then when you
Yeah.
put them in a little sugar water and they begin to bloom, it's not necessarily straight up and straight out. That stem can take them many places. And I love that. It creates a design all of its own. If you
But can I just actually, I want to add to the tulip because this isn't just, you know what? My spirit flower
mm,
is something you may not even know about. So you may want to look this one up later. It's
okay,
in a, it's called a Gymea lily.
okay,
Gymea, Gymea lily. And they're here in Australia. They're native to New South Wales, I think, at first. And they're amazing. My sister's recently, last Christmas, she gave me a plant, all of that for one flower. And I'm like, that's like mother. That's like me. That's like a human, right? Then once it goes down, you have your moment, your shining, beautiful moment where you feel like you're coping. And then everything else comes in and then you don't cope and you crumble and you're falling down and then you're like, oh my gosh. And then you have to put in all this work again, work and work and work and work and work, and you get your big stalk and then you bloom for a while again and then it's all come back down. So
well,
there you go.
but it's
Sorry.
but it no, but absolutely, it is definitely worth every minute because again, it's a labor of love. Your next question:
Mm.
if you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Oh my goodness. A hardworking one that works a lot. Now, how many of my appliances do that? That's pretty funny. Let's say I would be tossing up between probably my blender,
Blender.
blending, blending goodness to come out with some concoction out the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you could time travel, go to the past, stay in the present, project to the future, where would you land?
I'll be right here, April.
Right in the moment. I appreciate
Right here. Yep.
I appreciate
Because I've already got to enjoy my past, even the hard things, I live them, and I will get to enjoy whatever future I've got left. I'm going to stick right here.
absolutely. And my final question is, Philippa, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, remembered. If people were to put something on my headstone, I just want it to be that I knew how to live. Oh, here we go. Just live.
Just live. Just live. That's all that you can
I
do.
knew how to live. Mm.
ebbs and flows, and that's exactly what it is. It's an ever we're like a cork in the water. We're just bobbing up and down, and
Yeah,
hopefully we will
yep.
float and not sink. And that takes work. It is not effortless. You have to put in the work. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, or if there's any current coaching opportunities or offers that you may have.
So they can like Facebook find me, just my name is the easiest, Philipa Gleeson Payne. I'm the only one in the world, so I'm pretty easy to find. Um, um, on Instagram, my handle I think is afterchange.me.coach. So my company is After Change, and and coaching I don't have, obviously one-on-one is very few people you can work with at a time. But people can message out and certainly go on a wait list for one-on-one. Next month, April, if anyone did reach out and they want to be on my email list, sometime next month, I will be announcing something very exciting, which will be beyond one-on-one coaching, which will allow people to get involved and get some support in other ways as well. So that's really exciting. So really getting in contact and either following you to hear news or reaching out through those messaging services. I'm on it.
Okay. Well, Brains, I need you to go in and love, like, share, and I get my card right, and subscribe to us here on The Edge. It's important. Know that you're not alone. You're not a one-legged stool. You need support. And it's okay to reach out before you burn out or crash out, because those are very realistic things that are happening. Mothering, we are facilitators. We are conduits of change. We don't have a template, and no two situations with even your own children are going to be the same. Dedicate that time and resource into your partner, and let your partner also pour into you, because it is a duality. It took two to make them. It can take two to raise them. Okay. I thank you so much, Philipa, for all that you're doing. Brains, go in, follow her. I'm going to leave all of her information at the back part of this interview. Follow her on social media. If you have questions or comments, leave it. We love that. We want to grow and we want to evolve. Just because we think we have the answer, we may not even know the question. Thank you so much, Philipa. You are the best.
Thank you, April. I've had a great time.